Hey guys, King of Charmanders here, and today I am your judge, your jury, and your analyst. And I bring to you content and data from another analyst, one of the greatest analysts, I think, in the entire Go Battle League community, which is ytxpikachu. So please, follow ytxpikachu on Twitter and Twitch on my description. I put his description on his socials on the link below. Definitely follow him if you want the latest and greatest data. As you see here, we have the most common lineups provided for us by ytxpikachu. Now, I'm only going to analyze the top 5 just because if you go anywhere, these teams are very, very common. If you want to analyze the rest, you may. However, I think the top 5 are really worth looking into rather than look into the rest just because, because GBL is blind, you can see a whole bunch of combinations. However, common lineups, especially the top 5, are really worth looking into because you can create contingency plans for them, or you've probably already seen them already. Me, personally, I'm not dabbling into Ultra Premier. I'm actually trying to climb to Legend in Open Ultra League. So if you are playing Premier, I'm pretty sure you'll see these common lines on your way to Legend, or if you're already Legend as well. Anyways, let's get started. Alright, so team number 1 is Venusaur, Stunfisk, and Talonflame. So all these are pretty similar, except for the top 2 as far as commonality. So I'm not going to go over the percentage. But as you see here, Venusaur is a popular lead for Ultra Premier, and it looks like it hasn't changed a bit since I last played in it. This does feature Galarian Stunfisk XL as well as a Talonflame XL, so this is a double XL team. Ironically, this kind of symbolizes the Venusaur double steel team in G-Fisk and Bastiodon in the back, so that's really good. In Great League, well, I guess you just put the Flaming Fire Chicken in the back for the third in Ultra Premier. As you see here, this team is ridiculously powerful. Well, when you have 2 XLs, especially a Galarian Stunfisk XL, I'm not really surprised. But as you see here, insane coverage, great bulk safety, and consistency. This team is really freaking good. It's scary good, actually. I'm assuming G-Fisk is your safe switch. It is an incredibly powerful safe switch, and as you see here, what G-Fisk cover, there's not really a lot of Pokemon that can incorporate the entire team, which is pretty nuts. It's really, really strong. As far as what beats this entire team, the Ice types will give you a problem like Piloswine and Mamoswine, but that's pretty much it. So does Driplim. Driplim also gives you an issue. However, I really think you're okay just because you can say switch into Galarian Stunfisk, and then Talonflame with Energy or a Sky Attack can probably wipe out a Driplim if it has Energy. But as you see here, Talonflame can also give you an issue as well. So ironically, Talonflame can beat you, and you have Talonflame in the back. So just be careful of those Pokemon, as well as that's pretty much it from what I see. Venusaur, you just have to be aware of, again, the Ice types and the Flying types, which is why Driplim, Talonflame, and Piloswine and Mamoswine are really good against it, and possibly Altaria XL. Other than that, Venusaur does beat Swampert, and it does beat a lot of other popular leads. That's why Venusaur lead is still really freaking good, as you see here in the 2-shield scenario, which is pretty nuts. Again, this does feature Galarian Stunfisk XL and Talonflame XL, but because this team is very, very good with a pretty dang low threat score of 624, anything below 500 is pretty good, or not 500, by close to 600, but this is one of the lowest threat scores I've seen for Ultra Premier, so it's pretty nuts just how Galarian Stunfisk and Talonflame XL are just able to do really well in this meta. Alright, the next team is one that I particularly don't like because, as you see here, it's Double Charm. For those of you that have watched my channel, I absolutely despise Double Charm, or just any tap team in general. However, I'm slowly warming up to it because with all the lag going on here, really the best way to make Go Battle Lag not kill you is to literally use a tap team, because you're not firing off charge moves most of the time, you're mostly just tapping your opponent down. That's why I'm slowly warming up to it. Not saying I'm gonna use it, but as you see here, it's really freaking good. Sadly, it's Umbreon XL with Double Charm. So Umbreon it's actually a triple XL team with Double Charm XL Pokemon, as in XL Ninetales and XL Clefable. You probably can see Ninetales with Powder Snow, but in all likelihood, this is Double Charm. As you see here, insane amounts of bulk, just because Clefable XL, XL Pokemon, especially the XL variations, are very, very bulky. Not super safe, but it's going to do a considerable amount of damage. And of course, anything with Double Charm has terrible coverage. As you see here, this team can do a lot of damage. You take out, basically you take out, like I see what you do here. You have Umbreon to take out the fire type, or the poison type, and then you just run over the back row with Clefable and a little Ninetales. Super generic, and it's super generic. Anyways, as you see here, there's a lot of things that will core break this team. There are just can beat this team in general. Now, there's a lot of neutral matchups on here, so that's why this team does really, really well. So yes, it's not a lot of these Pokemon or a lot of these combinations aren't hard losses. So it's Double Charm. I've seen in Ultra Premier works pretty dang well. And do it 2x with XLs even more well than I wish they did. Of course, this team has a ridiculously high threat score. However, you pretty much know Double Charm's objective. You tap, 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 and then you tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap. Alright, team number 3 features another ABB team, and this time it's Double Bug. Like, what is up with these teams, man? Like, well, Excalibur is actually pretty good, but, you know, XL Galvantula, that's a pretty high barrier to entry. Because the only way to get an XL Galvantula is to pretty much have ready weather outside of having the Phone Rocker, Defit, or if you have someone that just crazily grinds in a really good grinding spot, and it's raiding outside, where Galvantula spawns. And as you see here, it's a good team. The only thing the reason why you have Galvantula in the back is because Swampert doesn't encounter Talonflame. You can take out Talonflame with Galvantula if you manage to land a Discharge. So, as you see here, not a ton of coverage. It's going to do a ton of damage, of course, because all 3 of these Pokemon dish out a ton of damage just in a short amount of time. Not a lot of bulk, just because Excavalier isn't super bulky, so isn't Galvantula. It's pretty safe. Galvantula is your safe switch here. Galvantula safe switch, and I would say Excavalier safe switch is actually pretty good as well. Fortunately, you only have your terrible bulk doesn't mean, and you also have bad coverage, which are okay coverage, which isn't that great. But that's the basis of it. Have Swampert right about the Talonflame, and then Excavalier and Galvantula can go to town. As you see here, this team doesn't cover a lot of the meta. However, in this combination of Pokemon, you're able to do very well. Excavalier can take out the double dragons or just resist Dragon Breath in general, so it's a good safe switch along with Galvantula. This is a pretty weird team, but it's the number 3 most popular one, and I can see why it's actually pretty good. Because outside of Jellicent and Altaria, this team actually does really well against a lot of neutral matchups, so it's pretty dang good, actually. Plus, you can actually debuff your opponent with Galvantula's lunge and create a lot of sweet plays with this core. Do I recommend it? Galvantula? No. Galvantula XL is actually really, really expensive, but this team has been proven to be one of the most common lines, so it's probably really good outside of the fact of seeing Talonflame in the back. Pretty high threat score. Again, all these 3 Pokemon with, especially Galvantula and Excavalier are pretty squishy. So, your worst nightmare is you can see a Talonflame or Charizard in the back with Fire Spin, and then you just get roasted to death. So, but I still think it's a really effective team, minus the fact that you do see a Fire in the back, because it does generally well against a lot of combinations. Alright, team number 2. I'm not going to go over this one. This is going to be really quick. Empoleon Double Dragon. I've gone over this last time for Ultra League, and it's still really good, okay? Safe switch is your Kingdra, and then you, hopefully, if you get the Octazooka, you basically win the matchup. That's basically what it is. If you get the debuff, Octazooka takes back switch, just because 50% -2 is OP. Again, this team is pretty much this team does really, really well just because Kingdra and Dragonite are an incredible back row, and Empoleon does do a ton of damage with Hydro Cannon, especially if you are able to catch a Psychic type, like a Confusion user in the front, or if you're able to catch a Talonflame lead. This team is very, very powerful. And again, it's pretty generic. Super high threat score, uses the Dragon Breath damage to overpower your opponent, and banks on the Kingdra debuff to win back switch. And then you kind of just realign, and Empoleon and Dragonite in general in the back are very, very strong. So, yay, you've seen this team again? Well, it's number 2 on the most common Ultra Premier lineups. Alright, now the most common team on Ultra Premier is another You can tell I really don't... Well, it's what it is, you know, XL Pokemon are really freaking good. Anyways, what we have here is Galvantula As a safe switch, Stunfisk lead XL as a lead, Galvantula safe switch, which is extremely powerful and really inaccessible, and Venusaur as a closer. So this is kind of like team number 5, except it's kind of like you don't have Talonflame in it. But as you see here, this team basically pressures your opponent a lot, and then it closes out with Galvantula or Venusaur. So a lot of pressure here, a lot of damage. That's why your consistency is really good, and it's actually pretty safe. So this team does really well. It's at a 1.1%, which is about not too far from like the other 4 on this, so it's not too bad as far as like how often you'll see it. But it just shows that there's a lot of XLs are really expensive. That's why just like Galvantula XL is really good. The only issue I have with it is that a lot of people aren't likely to have one. Like this guy right here. I don't have one. I would likely have to walk my poor little Galvantula, which I don't even have a rank 1 for Ultra Premier for level 50, so it would make me cry a little bit. So I'm not powering one up until I find a good one at rank 1 at level 50, because you could totally do that. But as you see here, really safe, really consistent, and it's really good. So what you can do with Galarian Stunfisk is, if you see Swampert, safe switch into Galvantula, sack Galvantula, Venusaur runs down, and then G-Fisk plus Venusaur can wipe out the back row. At least that's what I think I can see with this team. As you see here, the Galarian Stunfisk does really well against everything but water types and Mud Boys, which is basically Swampert, and fighting types in the lead. However, Galvantula and Venusaur do resist fighters, so Galarian Stunfisk got good coverage against its weaknesses. Now, your back row, this team kind of can get run down by actually, Talonflame is probably your worst nightmare with this team. However, as you see here, you can actually beat Talonflame by just rock sliding it to death. And you can also discharge it to death. So Talonflame isn't exactly like the end all for this team, even though those flame charges can rev up. Now, if it's the other way around, and if it's a revved up Talonflame and G-Fisk dies and you have no energy on Galvantula, you're pretty much dead. Anyways, as you see here, this team absolutely obliterates Umbreon as far as the meta goes. And if you don't cover with G-Fisk, more often than not, you will cover your back row with it. Or you have a chance against it. For example, Scrafty versus Galvantula. Galvantula is pretty comfortable just because of your ability to debuff Scrafty. And of course, Venusaur resists Scrafty. When it comes to Jellicent, Jellicent is basically zapped to Galvantula. Galvantula can zap it to death, and then Venusaur just Frenzy Plants it to death. So, again, if your G-Fisk doesn't cover it, the back row covers it pretty well. If you look at this team has a very high threat score. However, you won't see a lot of these Pokemon. However, like I mentioned before, the Fire-type archetype can give you a very, very hard time. Outside of Talonflame, if you can't take out Typhlosion or Rapidash in the lead, it's going to suck a lot. So make sure if you do see the Fire-type, just take it out. We'll try to take out with G-Fisk if you can, just because it's going to give... If they rev up and they have energy safe for your back row is basically going to get wiped by the Fire-type. But this team is exceptionally powerful. And G-Fisk and Galvantula are just really hard to get. So, as you see here, like, it's really... It's what it is. But, again, this is the most... It stands at 1.1%, so this is the most common lineup. The other ones aren't too far. It ranges from 0.8 to 1.1, so the chance of you seeing these are pretty even, and that it's, like, not too much of a difference. So, the odds of you seeing either one of the top 15 on these common lineups are pretty equal. Like, other than the top 10, probably equally good, etc. And that's it, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Just a little more analysis on the most common leads here. It's not really a surprise that Dragonite is a common lead, just because it does take out pretty much Swampert and Venusaur, and you can kind of... Actually, Dragonite does beat the rest of these, except for Empoleon, but you can also try to bully your way through Empoleon. That's something you can do. If you manage to... You could sack Dragonite, double shield Empoleon, and then do something fancy. But as you see here, last time I assessed it, the most common overall leads didn't really change that much. Basically, the only surprise... Well, actually, Machamp isn't even much of a surprise. I think I just had Dragonite, or Dragonite was just more used than Machamp. But as you see here, Machamp is a popular lead just because if everything goes well, it beats Swampert in the 2-shield. You could also beat Obstagoon. You beat a lot of the combinations in the lead right here. You could try to rock slide your way through Charizard. There's a lot of things you could do with Machamp. Machamp can also beat Galvantula in the lead if you could rock slide down. So for example, if they don't shield a rock slide past, I believe, the second debuff, or the first debuff, then that second rock slide can kill you. So Galvantula, or Machamp, is not a bad idea. Personally, I was actually using Machamp in Ultra Premier and in Open Ultra League for a little bit of time. So again, it looks like those common leads are pretty much the same. Not too much has changed, other than, like I said, probably Machamp being a lot more popular in the lead. A lot of these teams that you see in the top, Machamp does have a chance to beat a lot of those leads, as you see here. And I guess that's why Machamp is really kind of like, it is meta, but kind of like the anti-meta in a sense to the most common lineups. But that doesn't mean you all should just lead with Machamp. I really think you should just use whatever you're comfortable with, and hopefully this data does help you out. If you guys have any requests, please put in the comments if you want some more data or me to analyze more data. Other than that, please like and subscribe. I hope this data does help you reach Legend or reach your goals. Good luck on your Go Battle League sets, and I will see you guys on the next video.
Ciao,